बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami,
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami,
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami,
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami,
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami,
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami,
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami,
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami,
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami,
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami,
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami,
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami,
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami,
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami,
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami.
Respected Venerable Bhikkhus and Venerable Bhikkhunis, Upasakas, Upasikas, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Today, 13 May, we celebrate Day 2, Global Vesak Dhamma Program 2022. May we have your attention and do turn on your video now. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya. Respected Most Venerable Ajahn Sujato Mahatero, respected Most Venerable P. Sivali Mahatero, Most respected Venerable Santini Mahateri, Most respected Venerable Vidita Dhamma Deepak Mahateri, Most respected Venerable Dhammananda Harry, and also all Venerable Bhikkhus and all Venerable Bhikkhunis, Upasakas and Upasikas, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. I'm Bhikkhuni Sumangala, your moderator today. It's my honor and privilege to welcome all of you to Day 2, Global Vesak Dhamma Program, year 2022, organized by Mahabodhi Society of India and United Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha International, with the theme Vesak and Timeless Wisdom, Compassion and Purity of Mind for the Development of Vibrant Humanity. And this program is from 12 to 14 May, and today is the second day. So welcome again, and thank you for taking time to celebrate this pre-Vesak Dhamma event with us. Wishing all of you good health, peace of mind, and bliss. So to commemorate the Buddha's enlightenment on Day 2 Global Vesak Dhamma Program, we will now invite Venerable Vidita Dhamma Deepak Mahateri from Vietnam, the Secretary of UTBSI, to give us the opening speech. Venerable.
Thank you, Venerable Sumangala. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya. Respected Venerable Sujato, Venerable Sivali, and the Bhikkhu Sangha. Respected Venerable Santini, Venerable Dhammananda, and other Bhikkhunis, coordinators from UTBSI. Also, I would like to pay respect to all the Sangha members present in this forum, and greetings to all our Dhamma friends, Upasakas, Upasikas from all over the world. Today is May 13, 2022, and we are in the Global Vesak Dhamma Program, co-organized by Mahabodhi Society of India and UTBSI, which stands for United Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha International. This is a very special cooperation between the oldest, we may say that it is one of the oldest Buddhist association in the world, which is Mahabodhi Society, which was started in 1981 by Anagarika Dhammapala and Sir Edwin Arnold. At first, it was started to struggle for revival of Buddhism in India, and also to resume the Buddha's places, holy places in India, which was in the hand of Hindu association at that time. So Mahabodhi Society of India was founded 130 years before UTBSI was founded. So our organization was started only last year, 2021, under the instruction and supervision and support by Mahabodhi Society of India, and also many supporting bhikkhus from the US, from Australia, from Malaysia and Sri Lanka and other countries. And this cooperation between Mahabodhi Society of India and UTBSI make a very significant in propagation of the Dhamma. And we see in this forum, there is a presence of the fourfold Sangha, bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, upasakas, upasikas. And our speakers also from the two Sangha, Bhikkhus and Bhikkhunis. Even though from beginning we don't have the Dhamma speakers from the lay communities yet, but I hope that in the future we can extend our field so that if our upasakas and upasikas would like to join in Dhamma sharing, you are also welcome. And you see that today we have 5 speakers, and among the 5 speakers, we have not only the bhikkhus, very famous bhikkhus like Bhante Suchato from Australia, or Venerable Santini from Indonesia, then Venerable Bodhichitta from Australia, then Venerable Dhamma Puripanna from Thailand, and our Samaneri Manichita from Vietnam. So we have 5 speakers from 5 various countries. Today our theme is about the enlightenment, the enlightenment of the Buddha, and in the development of the vibrant humanity. So how the Buddha's enlightenment affect our humanity? How can it help us? What is the significance of his enlightenment to the whole society, not only from the Buddha's time, but you can see that until now, after 25 centuries, the Buddha's teaching is still giving great influence in our life, in our mental cultivation, to bring the happiness to ourselves and to the society. I hope that our speakers tonight, each of them will throw some light on their thinking, their experience about the Buddha's enlightenment, as well as their own enlightenment in some extent, to help us broaden our knowledge and help us to develop our mentality. So with this welcome, I would like to welcome you on to our forum. Today is the second day, and we will have one day more tomorrow to conclude our global Vesak Dhamma program. We are glad that you come with us from yesterday, today, and I hope that you will come with us tomorrow too, so that we can sit together, listen to one another, and help one another on the path to practice the Dhamma, to dispel ignorance, and to attain enlightenment. Now I would like to invite Bhikkhuni Sumangala to continue to moderate the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Venerable Vesak, for your very informative speech, and also calling all to participate and also to reflect on our own awakening. Yeah. So next we shall start this inaugural Global Vesak Dhamma program to connect our hearts to the Sama Sambuddha with the opening salutation. May we now invite Venerable Santini Mahateri from Indonesia, the Dhamma Program Chief Coordinator, to lead us on the opening salutation. Venerable Santini Mahateri, please.
Namo Buddhaya. Today is second day of our Dhamma program to commemorate Vesak in 2566 BC. Again, to my seniors bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, humbly I ask permission to lead the chanting before this program begins. My Dhamma sisters and Dhamma brothers, ladies and gentlemen, again, to energize our mind, let us fill it with the Buddha's word first. Let us join our palms in honor of the Buddha. Arambata Nikamatha Yunjatha Buddha Sasane Punathama Juno Senang Nalagarang Wakunjaro Yo imasming Dhamma vinaye Ampamatto vihasati Pahaya jati sangsarang Dukkha santang karisati. Rouse yourselves, try harder, devote yourselves to the teachings of the Buddha. Crush the army of death as an elephant a hut of reeds. Whoever will live diligently in this teaching and training, giving up transmigration through rebirths, will make an end of suffering. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you. Sorry, Bhikkhuni Sumanggala, we cannot hear you.
Thank you, Ayah, for reminding. So thank you, Ayah, for the opening salutation. Indeed, it is very meritorious to celebrate Vesak for 2,566 years, and to celebrate Vesak meaningfully by listening to the Dhamma. Yesterday, we have heard from the senior bhikkhus and senior bhikkhunis from 4 corners of the world about the significance of the Buddha's birth and how we can embrace those qualities in our quest for happiness, freedom, and liberation. The Buddha is not to be worshipped only on Vesak, and how we can embrace the Buddha, to remember the Buddha, and also practice his teaching all the time. Today, we have also lined up 5 honorable speakers, from the very experienced one to the very new one, but nevertheless, all of them will present to us the significance of the Buddha's enlightenment that leads to the development of vibrant humanity. So to begin with, we'd like to check that the speakers that are on the line, maybe just check whether Bhikkhu Sujato is already in. Bante, are you with us? All right, we couldn't find Bante yet. Never mind, we will start with the first speaker, and the first speaker will be Venerable Bhikkhuni Santini Mahateri from Indonesia. So we would like to introduce Ayah Santini. And before that, maybe also watch the Vesak video on the Buddha's enlightenment.
And then he went out into the forests in Gaya and began his period of austerities. And then he remembered at that time the period when he had been sat under the rose apple tree. And he realized that actually was the path to awakening. That jhana that he had got at that time led to awakening. The jhana that he had attained when he was a boy was based on mindfulness and insight. And it's mindfulness and insight that leads to awakening. And he realized while he was exhausted, as he was at that point, he could not get stable mind. He could not get a stable and concentrated mind. And so he decided to go on alms round in the nearby village of Sania. And he went out on alms round. It's when he went out on alms round that the group of 5 ascetics who had been attendants on him, they saw that he was taking food again, and they thought he's just given up, and they left him at that point. Then one morning he went out and he was sat under a tree, and Sujata came out, and then she gave this milk rice to the Bodhisattva. So from there he moved towards the Bodhi tree, which is, the Bodhi tree at what we now call Bodh Gaya. And as he was going, he met a Brahmin grass cutter called Satya. And Satya gave him 8 handfuls of kusa grass. Kusa grass is very fragrant grass. So he gave this grass, and the Lord Buddha took it and he threw it at the foot of the Bodhi tree. And as it landed at the foot of the Bodhi tree, it turned into a diamond throne, the Vajrasana. What we now call the Vajrasana, the diamond throne underneath the Bodhi tree, where the Lord Buddha sat. And he made this vow, may my skin dry up, may my bones become dust, may my sinews and flesh just dry up, but I will not rise from the diamond throne until I have attained awakening. And then Mara, old Mara, who had been following him for 6 years from the time that he had gone out from his renunciation, looking all the time. Mara was looking for unwholesome thoughts of sensuality, unwholesome thoughts of hatred or anger, unwholesome thoughts of delusion to appear in the Bodhisattva's mind. He had been chasing him and looking for these for 6 years and had not found them. So Mara knew that the Bodhisattva was on the verge of awakening, and he decided he must bring all his powers to bear to prevent the Bodhisattva from attaining awakening, which would lead to the release of beings from samsara, which were under Mara's sway. So he brought all his armies of various sorts to attack the Bodhisattva, and he stirred up cyclones to attack the Bodhisattva, and he brought out tsunamis to attack the Bodhisattva, and he threw stones and rocks to attack the Bodhisattva, and he threw weapons at the Bodhisattva, and hot coals were thrown at the Bodhisattva, and hot sand and hot mud were also thrown at the Bodhisattva, and at the end he brought darkness all over the earth to try to prevent the Bodhisattva from attaining awakening. But none of these things was sufficient to put the Bodhisattva off his quest for awakening. And the Bodhisattva, of course, during all this period, 4 immeasurables, 100,000 aeons, such a long period, had fulfilled the paramis: generosity, virtue, renunciation, wisdom, energy, patience, truth, determination, loving kindness and equanimity. He had fulfilled all these paramis, and he was ready for the time of awakening. And he called on the earth to bear witness that he was worthy to be sat on the Vajrasana, and the earth bore witness to the Bodhisattva, and Mara was overthrown and was washed away along with his hordes, and the Bodhisattva was left at the end of the day, on the Vesak full moon day, sitting at the foot of the Bodhi tree. And then during the night, in the first watch of the night, he attained Pabbenivāsanusanāna, which is knowledge of his previous lives. He remembered all the previous lives that he had been through. He knew what his name was, he knew what his family was, he knew what his position in the society was, he knew what food he had eaten, he knew what pleasure and pain he had experienced, and he knew what lifespan he had attained. And he remembered 1 life, and he remembered 2 lives, 3 lives, 4 lives, 5 lives, 10 lives, 50 lives, 100 lives, 1,000 lives, 10,000 lives, 1,000,000 lives, 1,000,000,000 lives, tens of thousands of billions of lives he could recall. And he knew what his name was, he knew what his family was, he knew what his position was. In all of those lives he gained complete insight into his journey through samsara in the first watch of the night. And in the second watch of the night he attained to the Dippacakkhañāna. The Dippacakkhañāna is knowledge of the rising and falling of beings according to their actions, good and bad. So he saw that certain beings had made good actions and had got good results, good rebirths, and other beings had made bad decisions in their lives and they had got bad rebirths because of it. So it's an insight into the workings of kamma and vipaka and how that affects rebirth. Yeah, it's a really deep insight into the nature of reality. That was the second insight that he got on the night of awakening. And the third insight that he attained is Asavakya Jnana, which is when he realized the truth of the Four Noble Truths: suffering, the arising of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and what was the path to the cessation of suffering. And then when he knew the Four Noble Truths, at that time he had destroyed the pollutants, the asavas. He had completely destroyed the asavas, and he had awakened to full and complete sambodhi, total awakening, just before dawn on Vesak night, which was a Wednesday, 588 BC. So that was the awakening of the Bodhisattva. Many events followed, of course, that you're aware of, but I can only summarize some of these events. He spent 7 weeks around the area of the Bodhi tree, 1 week under one tree, another week under another tree. And then Brahma Sahampati appeared to him and requested the Buddha to go and preach the doctrine. And there was some hesitation, but he agreed. He saw with his insight that some people are ready for awakening, and so he agreed to go and give his teaching. And he walked over to Benares, most specifically to Isipatana or Sarnath, and there he preached the Dhammacakka Pavatana Sutta on the Asala July full moon night. And then in that rains retreat, the rains retreat follows the July night of the July full moon night. In that rains retreat, Yasa, Sujata's son, came out from Varanasi, and he attained awakening. And at the end of that rains retreat, there were 61 arahats in the world, and the Lord Buddha sent them out in different directions to go and give the teachings to the people, for the happiness of people, for the welfare of all beings. And he himself headed back towards Gaya, where he had attained awakening. He met with the 3 Kassapa brothers. He converted the Kassapa brothers and their 1,000 disciples. And with that 1,000 disciples, he went into Rajagaha to fulfill his promise to King Bimbisara. And he gave the teaching to King Bimbisara. King Bimbisara also attained to stages of awakening. And then from there, he went to Kapilavatthu. Eventually went to Kapilavatthu. And as we saw a couple of months ago, that was also on Vesak full moon day, when he arrived in Kapilavatthu and gave teachings to his family, and then his family, his father, and then his brother, and then his son, and also, for that matter, his sister, and other members of his family also were brought into the Sangha and attained awakening. Right, now, for 45 years, the Lord Buddha was giving his teachings throughout ancient India, traveling by foot all the time to different places to see different groups. And the Dhamma, you know, that he taught, it's collected in about 17,000 suttas, 17,000 teachings that come down to us from the Lord Buddha, collected in the Sutta Pitaka at present. And as it works out, it's about one teaching for one day. The suttas are what constitute the teachings that come down to us, and it's like an enormous multifaceted diamond. Just like all of these things connect up in the Lord Buddha's lives, as in the Bodhisattva's lives and in the Buddha's life, all these people are joined up together in certain relationships and everything like this. When we read the Lord Buddha's teaching, it's like looking at a multifaceted diamond, and you look at it from this angle and it tells you one story, and you look at it from that angle and it tells you another story, and you look at it from another angle and it tells you another story. But all the time it's telling you about the reality of life on earth, and how it arises, how it ceases, and the path to get to the cessation. So the Lord Buddha's teaching is really, really a wonderful thing that's unparalleled in human teaching.
We thank Venerable Ananda Jyoti Bhikkhu very much for sharing this video on the enlightenment of the Buddha and how he enlightened other people. So maybe now again check that whether Venerable Bhikkhu Sujato Mahathero is in the Zoom already. Bhante, are you with us? All right, I think we will start with Ayah Santini first, then when Bhante joined in, then we will invite him later. Yeah. So first, we'd like to invite Venerable Bhikkhuni Santini Mahatheri to be the first speaker for today. And we'd like to introduce Venerable Bhikkhuni Santini Mahatheri. And he's also biodata. And Venerable Bhikkhuni Santini Mahatheri is from Indonesia. Yeah.
Profile of Venerable Bhikkhuni Santini Mahatheri. Venerable Bhikkhuni Santini Mahatheri is the chief of the Indonesian Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha. She was ordained as Anagarika on the 29th of September 1990 by the late Venerable Bhikkhu Girirakkhito Mahathera. After waiting for a long time, then she found the way to be ordained as Theravada Bhikkhuni by the Venerable Dr. Henapola Gunaratana Mahathero on 15th of April, year 2000. She has founded a monastery on 1993, namely Vihara Kusalayani. Then now the monastery has 3 branches. First, Setia Sangamita Kabonjero, Jakarta. Second, Vihara Sangamita Karawang. Third, Vihara Arya Dwipa Arama, Taman Mini, Indonesia, Indah, Jakarta. In the revival and development of the International Theravada Bhikkhuni, she was participating as an Upajayani or Pavatini 5 times in Australia and once in Indonesia, as a Kama Vachacharini once in Thailand, and as a witness once in Sri Lanka and once in India. On June 21st, 2015, the Indonesian Theravada Bhikkhuni Upasampada was held for the first time, spectacularly after more than 1,000 years of absence. On that occasion, 9 candidates came from various countries. She traveled to various cities in Indonesia and to several other countries to spread the Dhamma. In the year of 2007, the United Nations awarded her the Outstanding Woman in Buddhism Awards. In the year 2020, she was also selected as a recipient of an award from the Pancasila Ideology Development Agency from the Indonesian government. This appreciation was for those who have achievements and innovations that are beneficial to society, nation, and state, as well as the international community. In this case, she received an award for the category of Interfaith Mover. Her other activities: hosting Dhamma retreats for children and adults twice a year, hosting meditation retreats 3 times a year in Vihara Kusalayani, once a year in Brahma Vihara Arama, Bali, printing Buddhist magazines for adults and children, organizing social activities in several towns, recording Dhamma talks to send through social media, giving online Dhamma talks during COVID pandemic, and daily practice. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So maybe now invite Ayah Santini for the Dhamma talk.
Namo Buddhaya, most venerable bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, my Dhamma sisters and brothers, ladies and gentlemen. Today is second day of 3 days Dhamma program. As Buddhists, we always commemorate Vesak And this 2022, again, we commemorate Vesak in Buddhist year 2566. Every year we call into mind what happened then. Bodhisattva was born, Bodhisattva attained full enlightenment, and the Buddha attained Mahaparinibbana. 3 happenings every Buddhist learns by heart, but let us see the meanings behind them. In Dhammapada number 182, we read, "Hard is it to be born a man. Hard is the life of mortals. Hard is it to gain the opportunity of hearing the sublime truth. And hard to encounter is the arising of the Buddhas. Yes, aren't we lucky to have been born as human beings in this era when Dhamma, the teaching of the Buddha, can still be found and used as our teacher because the Buddha is no more alive. In comparison, we know the history of ascetic Asita, who saw the newborn Bodhisattva, seeing the noble marks of greatness in Bodhisattva. He cried because he knew that he would not live long enough to have the opportunity to come in contact with Buddha Dhamma, a sad picture. Ascetic Asita was born as a human being, having a long life until he reached old age. He even had the luck to meet the Bodhisattva, but not lucky enough to meet Buddha Dhamma. We can see our conditions now. We have been born as human beings, but unlike ascetic Asita, we are not lucky enough to meet the Buddha. Yet, unlike ascetic Asita, we are lucky enough to have the opportunity to come in contact with Buddha Dhamma. And so, unlike ascetic Asita, we do not cry. Maybe actually we can even laugh happily, so happy to have Buddha Dhamma. Yet we must really be aware. If we do not follow what the Buddha taught, if we are not serious in walking the Dhamma path, if we do not really live Dhamma life, we surely should cry, and will cry as long as we live. Why? Because we are still in samsara, and we do not have the strength and ability to get out of it. Most venerables, ladies and gentlemen, we all know the law of karma, that we reap what we have sown. We inherit what we have done. So what karma we did in the past has certainly brought us to our conditions now. Meaning, wherever we are now, wherever we have been born, that is because of our own doing. That is the result of what we did in every step we took in this life and previous lives. Maybe we cannot remember our past experiences. Maybe we did not know then that our karma would lead us to what we are. But we must have done many good karma to make us this lucky. Yes, we are so lucky to have been born in the human realm, just like what is written in Dhammapada above. It is not easy to be born as human beings. Thus the Buddha said, it is much, much easier to be born in lower realms, as animal, as Peta, as Asura, or in hell. When we learn about the law of karma, we know that we have choices in this life. We can do good karma or bad karma. To do good karma is much more difficult than doing bad karma. As a result, so many beings choose the easy way, doing bad karma, to reap the fruit, finding themselves born in lower realms. Alas, this inclination or habit of doing bad karma is one of the reasons why a human being finds it hard to be born again in the human realm and easy to be born again in lower realms. It is easy for beings who do not tame their mind or train their mind or protect their mind or control their mind to be born again in lower realms. When people do wrong actions, bad karma, maybe they do not realize where the actions will bring them. Maybe they are not aware that the bad actions will take them to bad destiny. But alas, knowingly or unknowingly, the law of karma works in accordance with the force which pushes them through the actions. In short, good actions will push them to good direction. Bad actions will push them to bad direction, to lower realms, which are full of suffering. There are interesting things around. Sometimes people keep doing bad karma, although they know the fruit of the action. These deluded people will come to senses only too late when it is time for them to reap the fruit. Poor them. Maybe these unwise people have confidently said before, I will be responsible for the result, the fruit of my action. Because bad karma are often pleasant and full of worldly excitement. But when the fruit does come, they can just cry and regret, because they then face lots of suffering and hurtful experiences. Sometimes the suffering is so great beyond imagination. Well, maybe even we are included there. We know that bad karma will give us nothing but suffering. But we still do lots of bad karma, which means we push ourselves to the direction of suffering, with no brakes to stop, with no awareness to change the dangerous direction. People choose to gratify their senses, chasing sensual and sexual pleasures. Coming to think of it, we see that there is something wrong. We know the law of nature, the law of karma. We want to be happy. We do not want suffering. Yet, we keep doing things which we know will take us to suffering, to lower states. Alas, wrong understanding, wrong view, wrong thought, wrong intention, meaning no wisdom. Alas. So, what to do? One thing is clear: get things right. For right efforts, we need strong self-control and must work hard to use our right compass, Dhamma. In doing this, maybe the road is long and winding, up and down, uneven, full of blood, sweat, tears. But we must keep this strong in our mind. We must walk the Dhamma path, hard as it is. But the path will surely take us to happiness. So, if we want to really break our bad habits pertaining to our mental, vocal, and physical actions, we must be brave and courageous. It is not easy, right, but not impossible. It is not easy, right, but only at the beginning. Let us free ourselves from delusion, living our Dhamma path, which will give nothing but suffering. Now that we are still alive as human beings in human realm, let us make the best use of the human ability to think well, speak well, and do well. In the second line of Dhammapada 182, we see how hard is the life as human. Yes, it is hard to live well, to live a Dhamma life. And again, it is easy to live a Dhamma life. Therefore, we must really be careful in using our mind, speech, and body as human. We do not want to fall into lower realms. We must be careful with our intention or cetana. Our cetana, which underlies our mental, vocal, and physical actions, will determine the direction to our next lives. With good cetana, our lifeline will be good: safety, luck, blessing, happiness. But if our cetana is bad, we will go to bad direction: danger, loss, disaster, suffering. Therefore, with our utmost effort, we must force ourselves to always stay in goodness. We must avoid doing bad karma. It is very important to deepen the good tracks in our mind so that we are automatically inclined to doing good deeds. With the force of our good deeds, our efforts are also strengthened, which will cause the bad intention to do bad deeds. We will be prevented from going to the wrong direction. After all, we do not want to get lost in delusion. Knowing that, we must follow the path shown by the Buddha will lead us to liberation. Let us do our very best to stop doing bad karma through 3 channels: mind, speech, and body. Let us be strong to fight the tendency to go to that wrong direction. No matter how hard the fight is, we must win the battle and the war, winning over craving or lobha, aversion or dosa, and delusion or moha. Then let us do our very best to encourage ourselves to do good karma again through 3 channels: mind, speech, and body. That is certainly worth doing. We must fill our life canvas with good merits, which will accompany us to next lives, practicing non-craving, non-aversion, and non-delusion. And we can see that doing good will open other doors to doing more good actions. Our goodness will increase higher, more qualified, producing skills to make us have effortless effort to do good. Then we find it easy to be good in mind, speech, and body. The same thing will happen when we are negligent, repeating bad action again and again. We'll create skills to do bad karma. Then we find it easy to be bad in mind, speech, and body. So scary. What is crazier? Later on, we will lose our capability to know right from wrong. We might even think that doing wrong is right, alas. So scary to realize that when people is already deluded like that, even when they come in contact with right teaching, they will not understand. They stick to their own wrong thoughts. Poor thing. The third line of Dhammapada 182 reads, "It is really difficult to meet the right teaching." Well, actually, the right teaching is not difficult, as nothing is hidden. Everything is given in full, but people with wrong view find it super hard to understand. Darkness covers their mind because wrong morality, wrong concentration, wrong wisdom reign there. On the other hand, people who have practiced sila, samadhi, and panya will find it easy to understand the teaching. They have open mind to welcome the jewels of Tiratana. Darkness is far from their mind because goodness reigns there, ready to be uplifted to the direction of liberation, free from craving, free from aversion, equanimous. It is interesting to see that some people find it easy to come in contact with Buddha's teaching. Well, as if they open the door and voila, Dhamma is there, right in front of the door. Yet, some people simply cannot find Dhamma. No matter how hard they try, going here and there, doing this and that, well, they have not accumulated enough merits. Therefore, they are blind as it were. If we ask people whether they want suffering or happiness, we will definitely find the same answer. Everybody wants happiness. So, it is interesting to see that some people can find a way to the liberation of dukkha and some simply cannot. The Buddha has shown the way, and it is up to us to follow or not. It is up to us to take the step in the path or not. I would like to remind me and everybody, we are already come in contact with Dhamma. We have been born in the human realm, so we must have strong determination, strong energy, strong perseverance to value this wonderful capital. Let us do the best way possible to keep going forward to the direction of happy destination. Let us not be lost in the direction of unhappy destination. That way, after we live this life, we will be reborn in a happy realm, not in hell, not in animal realm, or Peta realm, or Asura realm. On this Vesak occasion, let us check our life again. We have the Buddha as our great teacher. If we say, Buddhang saranang gacchami, let us not say it just as lip service. Let us mean it. Let us develop and cultivate the Buddhahood in us, so that darkness goes away and our mind is free from stains, from lobha, dosa, and moha, while we can, while we are living as human beings. Please understand that it is possible, just as the Buddha said. Likewise, when we say Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, let us mean it. That way we show the right respect to our great teacher, the Buddha. The fourth line of Dhammapada 182 reads, "It is hard for a Buddha to emerge. It strikes hard to realize that we are super lucky to still have the trace of a Buddha in our present life. Well, in order to attain Buddhahood, the Bodhisattva took a very long process in uncountable lives in this universe to at last reach his goal to be a Buddha some 2,600 years ago. On this very earth, we can even go for a pilgrimage to see where Siddhartha Gautama was born, where he attained full enlightenment, where Buddha Mahaparinibbana. With our very eyes, we can see his birthplace, the Bodhi tree under which he attained Buddhahood, and his Mahaparinibbana place. Surely, again, we are so lucky. So, let us use this wonderful fortune to make the best use of being born in this era, when we really strive hard to follow the path of the Buddha. May one day we celebrate our own liberation. Happy Vesak, and let us strive happily. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Venerable Santini Mahathiri, for a very meaningful and enriching Dhamma talk. And I'm sure that all of us can see the practicality of the teaching of the Buddha, and for our own reflection and practice, especially during this Vesak. So thank you so much, Venerable Santini Mahathiri. And next, we would like to invite our next speaker, Venerable Bhikkhuni Bodhichitta Terry from Nisala Aranya, Sri Lanka, and also representing a center in Australia. And Venerable Bhikkhuni Bodhichitta Terry is a Sri Lankan Theravada Buddhist nun based in Melbourne. Born in 1974 in Western Province of Sri Lanka, and has been practicing meditation from the childhood time. Studied in Mussoorie Girls College and Devi Balika, and entered Monash University, Australia for further studies. A path of secular higher studies in medicine saw her graduated in biomedicine from Monash University in 2004. Her career as a medical scientist in Australia met a surprising turn of events when the Dhamma set her view of life in a different paradigm. She was in America in 2006 for almost a year under Ajahn Chah's forest tradition. In 2007, she was ordained as Samaneri in Bukhaya at the age of 33 by Venerable P. Sivali Mahathir. In 2010, she received her Upasampada in Sri Lanka under the tutelage of the late Venerable Dr. M. Punaji Mahathir. and also the late Venerable Professor Dr. Bhikkhuni Kusuma, and several senior Sangha members in Sri Lanka. Venerable is also the founder and the spiritual director of the International Center for Inner Peace and Happiness Inc. in Victoria, first by Sri Lankan Theravada Bhikkhuni. She is also a Buddhist chaplain at RMIT University, Melbourne. Venerable also is the founder and the spiritual director of the Misala Aranya Monastery and International Meditation Center, Agalavata, Sri Lanka. She has conducted numerous meditation retreats, lectures, Dhamma talks, and discussions in Australia, Malaysia, and Sri Lanka. So with this vast experience, may we now invite Venerable Bodhichitta Terry to present her Dhamma talk. Venerable, please.
Thank you very much, Venerable. Just let me pay respect to Lord Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Maha Sangharatning Avasarai. With the permission of the senior Maha Sangha, may I speak a few words? Senior bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, and all the venerables and dear devotees in the Dhamma. So today is this is the Vesak season, and today we are talking about the enlightenment of the Buddha, which is very important for the whole world. Like Arya Santini was sharing with all of you that it is the most rarest occurrence that happens on the earth, someone getting enlightened. In this world, when we live, a lot of our qualities are already encrypted in our DNA. So most of us behave according to what's in the gene. This gene is called the selfish gene. Why? Because it's interested in self-survival. So a lot of us, or almost all of us, are very self-centered. But there is a price to pay for that. When we are only interested about I, me, myself, and only about my people, we get stressed. So this stress gives us physical and mental suffering. And it is this selfishness that makes us to be bad people. Because when we are only interested about ourselves, we lose the sight of others, and we kind of come to a point where we will do what we like to do, forgetting about the others. What we will do, whether it's going to bring happiness or suffering to others, we forget. And we just keep doing things. And in that way of living. We try to find happiness for ourselves. So in that pursuit of happiness, we hurt others. So while I'm trying to be happy, with knowing or without knowing, someone else most of the time gets hurt. So this is why we say inherently we have taints. Oh, in other religions, they say we are sinners, we have sins. That means we are bad. So why that happens that way? It's because it's in the gene that it makes us to be very selfish and self-centered. But this leads to a lot of problems, to a lot of conflict, to a lot of suffering, even to world wars. This selfishness is the reason even for the world wars. Buddha became the Buddha and pointed this out. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known. Becoming a Buddha means going against this gene trait, going against this selfishness. Buddha got rid of the selfishness. Buddha got rid of the ego and became selfless. So when you become selfless, you become very holy. You would not do things only thinking about I, me, and myself. You have lost your selfishness. So you are now one with the universe. You don't have a boundary to separate you from the other. The other's happiness is also your happiness. So Buddha pointed this out. If someone can get rid of this selfishness, they will give the best kind of offering to the whole world, and they themselves will find peace and happiness. So when you get rid of this selfishness, what happens is we become good, very pure, very holy. So this is what we need, the goodness in the world. So this is what Buddha showed us. Purifying ourselves from the selfishness, from all the taints, and becoming selfless and becoming so pure, so good. So Buddha is the best sign for the perfected goodness and wisdom. You can see today, this is what we lack, this is what we need. So when we say we follow the Buddha's footsteps, the people who follow the Buddha's footsteps are called the Buddhists. So what the Buddhists are in turn doing is they are working on themselves, not to allow the gene to take them on in that selfish path, but they are going against the grain, training themselves, disciplining themselves to get rid of this ego and to become selfless. So they become very pure and very good. So people who followed the Buddha's footsteps, who practiced this, became also fully enlightened. We call them arahants, the enlightened beings. So they lived a very pure life, very innocent life, and their whole life is a blessing to everyone around them, even to the universe. So this is why we all have become Buddha's children, because we have understood that the importance of the Buddha's message. No one likes to suffer. No one. But we didn't know how to be free from suffering, because we didn't know the cause of how this suffering was coming from. So for Buddha, it took eons and eons and eons for him to perfect the paramitas to go beyond these selfish traits and to be able to understand who am I, and to be able to finally understand that this I, the conceit, the ego that we have, comes as a result of our avijja. So if we get rid of this avijja, you will be free from this delusion. You know, we see the rainbow, and if you really don't know what is a rainbow, we will have the desire to go and touch it, to walk across, or to have a piece of it for yourself. But when we understand the real thing about the rainbow, we understand there's nothing substantial in there. There is no value in it. It's not worth even going after it, because it's only an appearance there, only a maya, delusion. So the same way Buddha pointed out, there is this appearance of a self. There is just an appearance there, but there is no substantial thing to take as I, me, or myself. When the proper causes and conditions are there, things come to be, and when it is not, that is not. So Buddha pointed out in the Paticca Samuppanna way, what we have is the activities going on and on and on. Our eyes get stimulated by the light, the ears by the sound, the nose by the smells, the tongue by the taste, the body by the tactile objects, and the mind with the mind objects. So when they get stimulated with this, a chemical reaction starts. And then we start to see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and the thoughts come. So if you really investigate, this is what makes our world. So Buddha pointed out that it's actually an activity. Because we didn't see the activity as an activity, we got this creation called I am seeing the world, me and a world outside. So this is where Buddha really pointed the finger at and showed that if you're really interested in freeing yourself from suffering, we need to understand who this person is, who am I? So when you understand, like how if you understand what is a rainbow, that we will stop going after it. We will not stress about it. The same way, if we understand the non-self aspect, then we will find freedom from suffering. So this is the most important message to the world. But we can't get there without being good. Only when we practice and get rid of the selfishness, and so we purify ourselves, that means we become very good. The good people get enlightened. And this enlightenment is the most blessed thing that can happen on earth. Because they will not do any hurt or harm or any damage to any living being. Only a blessing will go to everyone. Loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy, the equanimity, like that. So this is what we need in the world today. Yesterday I was talking, with what's going on in Sri Lanka. It is this Dhamma that gives us the peace of mind. Otherwise we can get entangled in the hatred, the greed, hatred and delusion, and it brings a lot of stress, a lot of physical, mental suffering. But if we can understand what Buddha taught, we can find peace amidst all the vicissitudes of life. So this is why we have become Buddhist, and because we understood what Buddha taught and the value of that teaching. So this is why now we should work hard to spread this teaching. So when the people's heart go on fire with the greed, hatred and delusion, that with the help of this Dhamma, they can find the root cause of their suffering and they can free themselves from that suffering. So we are so grateful to the Buddha's efforts to become a Buddha. It's not easy to survive among the bad. It's not easy to survive a good person. You know, Jesus was a good person. He was very pure and practicing goodness and helping others all the time. The Hippocrates. So the people came in the history to teach about the goodness, how to be a good person. But the society didn't accept them. Very soon they got killed. So they just have to go. But the Buddha practiced for eons and eons and eons, and then gathered that full energy. He perfected the Dasaparamitas, so no one could touch him. So he would come to the people with a bad society, but he would show them the faults. He would show them how to become good, but no one has more power than the Buddha to kill Buddha. So Buddha is someone who have really developed the power than anyone else on earth. So no one can touch Buddha. So to come to that level, to purify and perfect the Dasaparamitas, and to have the most powerful energy on earth for at that time, it's not an easy thing to develop. So that's why Buddha took eons and eons and eons to become a Buddha. So we are really grateful to that. We really honor the Buddha for the effort that Buddha had taken to become the Buddha. It wasn't for Buddha's sake. Buddha had this aspiration that he wanted to become a Buddha to help others. So that's why we do the salutation to the Buddha, where we take our hands to the highest place on our body, to the most highest place, and we venerate the Lord Buddha. We pay the respect and gratitude, and we salute that achievement, the Buddhahood. So I won't take too much time. So it is the Vesak time now, and tomorrow is the full moon, Vesak full moon day. So it reminds us of this massive feat that Buddha had achieved, in achieving the enlightenment, the Buddhahood. So we celebrate the Buddha's birth and the enlightenment and the passing away. From out of those three, the most important thing is the birth of the Buddha, which brought the light to the world. From the darkness, the badness, we could come out with that light, help of the light. We could become pure and good, and we can live peacefully and happily, and others also can then in turn live peacefully and happily. So this is the message of peace. So Buddha really pointed out how we can have peace and happiness. So while we are practicing that, when we practice, we know how peaceful and happy we can become. So then it becomes our duty to share this news with others, share this message, the Dhamma, with the others. So our duty to protect this Dhamma for the future generations, and also to spread this Dhamma to the four corners of the world, so many can benefit from this. So many people become good. It becomes a good place, and it will become a place that where we will have peace and harmony. So today we know the whole world is in chaos, and we know what we really need is this Dhamma. It is this Dhamma that can bring peace and harmony to this world. So reminding the importance of this Dhamma and practicing this Dhamma, I would like to stop it here. And I also would like to share my merit with all the Bhikkhunis and everyone who put their energy and effort together to organize this, so the Bhikkhunis can spread the message of peace. And also I would like to pay my humble respect to Bhante Sivali for guiding us and forming this Bhikkhuni association and helping the Bhikkhunis to spread the Dhamma far and wide, strengthening them and giving them confidence and helping them to be part of the Buddha's peace army, and so they also can spread the Dhamma far and wide. So I pay my humble respect to Bhante and to all the senior monks and the nuns who are working so hard to spread Buddhism, to strengthen the Buddha Sasana and to spread Buddhism. So may I pay my respect to all of you. May all of you be well, comfortable, peaceful and happy. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Venerable Bodhichitta Terry, for your inspiring Dhamma sharing using a very modern term, jin. Yeah, and I think it's very enlightening too to understand that how we carry our karmic jin over to this life, and how the enlightenment of the Buddha can help us to overcome and to it's a blueprint, but we can change it. I think and that is a very good message for all of us, for this Vesak. Thank you very much. And so now we will proceed to the third speaker. And our third speaker is Venerable Dhamma Paripurna Bhikkhuni. And Venerable holds a PhD in farm management, Lincoln University, New Zealand. She's an agricultural specialist and previously a lecturer of the National Agricultural Extension and Training Center. At the later part of her late career, she was a senior lecturer of the Department of Human and Community Development, Kasetsat University, Kampang, Sun Campus, Nakhon Pathom, Thailand. She was ordained by Venerable Dhammananda Terry as a Samaneri twice in 2014 and 2017 at Songdhamma Kalyani Monastery. And she was ordained a Bhikkhuni on January 29, 2019 in International Theravada Bhikkhuni Ordination at Wat Lao International Bodhgaya, organized by Mahabodhi Society of India. Venerable Dhammananda Terry is a Pavatini, and Venerable P. Sivali Mahathero is her Upajjhaya. Venerable now is a member of the Bhikkhuni Sangha of Songdhamma Kalyani Monastery, Nakhon Pathom, Thailand. And we now invite Venerable Dhamma Paripurna Bhikkhuni to present the Dhamma talk.
Thank you very much, Venerable Sumangala, for introducing. Let me share my presentation. May all the Buddha's teaching prevail on earth as long as the end of Buddhism. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. May I humbly pay my homage to the Buddha, respected Bhikkhuni Sangha, Bhikkhu Sangha, and all Dhamma friends. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the Buddha for his greatest compassion to preach the timeless wisdom he discovered on Vesak Day 2,600 years ago, and to both Sanghas for passing this wisdom on to us all. I'm not going to talk in detail story, just make a few points about enlightenment of the Buddha. First thing first, we need to know the reason for renunciation of the Buddha, one day he went out from his palace with his chariot, Chanda, seeing an old man, a sick man, a corpse, and an ascetic, while sightseeing brought about a quest to get over old age, sickness, and death. The very simple quest that ordinary people would not think of, but an extraordinary would do, and the Buddha, he was extraordinary. I just would like to make a few points about the power of determination of the Bodhisattva. Last night we heard a lot of determination of Sumedha Tapasa to be a Buddha. In the previous life, seeing an ascetic might motivate him to recall his ascetic way of life. That is why in this life, he decided to enter monkhood. On the Anoma riverbank, Prince Siddhartha held his hair and resolved that if he were to be a Buddha, let his hair stand in the air. And if he could not be enlightened, let his hair fall to the ground. Then he threw his hair up, and his hair floating up and stood in the air. Sakadeva Raja had a gem casket to hold his hair and kept it in Chulamani. So this is his first determination. He sought teachers and attained the 8th Samapatti, but he found that this was not the way of Vimutti. So he proceeds on to Uruvela Senanikama. On the Niranjara riverbank, he practiced mortification. Still, he could not find way of Vimutti. As we all know that he was a prince, he spent his luxurious life on one extreme and end, indulging himself in 3-season castles, and on the other end, also extreme, he mortified himself in forest. Not only he could find the answer to his quest, but also he could have died of starvation. He changed up his mind in the morning of the 6th month and received payasa from Sujata, who made a wish for a son, and her wish came true. She mistook the Bodhisattva for a deva who gave her the son. She asked the Bodhisattva, "Please take my offerings. My wishes were fulfilled, and your wishes shall be fulfilled too." This is very interesting. After the meal, he went to the riverbank and made his second determination to enter Buddhahood. Even if flesh and blood in my body shall get dry up, only skin, tendons, and bones remain. If I have not attained Samma Sambodhi Jnana, I will not arise from this palanka. Knowing the Buddha's determinations, Mara came and attempted to destroy his determination with all temptation, but Mara's attempts failed. He exclaimed, this is a claim by the Mara, "There is no one in the Loka and Devaloka who can match Siddhartha. he shall become Buddha. He shall carry intelligent animals to cross over samsara and will surely attain enlightenment this time. Enlightenment, Samma Sambodhiyana. In the first watch, he attained Upenivasanusati jhana, or reminiscent of past or previous births. In the second watch, he attained Tutupapatayana, disease and rebirth of being, the perception of the appearance and disappearing of various beings according to the consequence of their past deed. And in the last watch, he attained the knowledge of causation of mental intoxication, destruction of kangas, or knowledge to outflow are extinct, or asavakayana. Unlike us, he got the answer through his direct experience, because he can see the past life and where the being reborn again. So this made me sick of rebirth. And he got the answer: no more birth, no more suffering. And he attained all this timeless wisdom, the Four Noble Truth, at the dawn of that night. He then uttered, whenever the patients attain Dhamma and the chain of causation, knowing the annihilation of kilesa or defilement, knowing the practical way to annihilate kilesa called Nibbana, then the person has already annihilated Mara and his retinues, just like the sun which brightly lights the world. While he was deciding whether he should preach or pass away, because the wisdom he attained was very sublime and people may not understand his teaching, then Sahapati Brahma read the mind of the Buddha and he begged or requested the Buddha to teach the Dhamma for the benefit of humankind. The Buddha considered some sentient beings were easy to teach, some were difficult, compared to 4 kinds of lotus flowers. Some just came out from the rooftop and became feed for fish and turtles. Some grew but remained underwater. Some already grew up in the surface, to the surface of the water, and some grew above the water, ready to open the petals, waiting for the sunlight exposure. With his great compassion, he decided to preach. We are indebted to Sahapati Brahma for requesting the Buddha to teach the timeless wisdom he discovered on Vesak Day, 2,600 years ago. Hopefully, we are the 4th kind of lotus and will be able to benefit from the timeless wisdom too. It is our responsibilities to work the purity part. The Buddha laid for us, for our own welfare and others' welfare, to develop vibrant humanity. May all his teaching prevail on earth as long as the end of Buddhism. Thank you for your attention. Sadhu.
Thank you so much, Venerable Dhamma Paripurna Bhikkhuni, for your presentation. And Venerable has brought us on those few important points of reflection on the determination, yeah, for enlightenment. And I think this is also a very important point that all of us should take note, as without that strive, that determination, even with the slightest unwholesome thought or weakness of the mind, we will never be able to attain, yeah, that enlightenment. And also the importance of our duty, yeah, to spread the Dhamma when we realize the Dhamma. Thank you so much, yeah, Venerable Dhamma Paripurna. And now we will also proceed to the next speaker. And she is Venerable Samaneri Manichita from Vietnam. So Venerable Samaneri Manichita was born as Wan Tu Tran in Vietnam in September 1988, and she obtained diploma in marketing in Singapore. She became an 8th preceptor in September 2019, and she took Theravada Samaneri ordination with Venerable Vidita Dhamma Lipat Mahateri in July 2021 and reside at Bien Cong, Nunnery, Vietnam. So this time we also include Samaneri to do this presentation so that the Bhikkhuni Sangha can also nurture future potential Dhamma speakers to also carry on this Dhamma teaching to more and more people. So without further ado, we now invite Venerable Samaneri Manichita to present the Dhamma talk.
Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya. First of all, I would like to pay my respect to all the venerables, Venerable Mahathero Sivali, Venerable Mahathero Bhikkhu Bodhi, Venerable Phante Sujato, and all Venerable Bhikkhu Sangha. I also pay my respect to Venerable Mahatheri Tathaloka, Venerable Mahatheri Sumangala, Venerable Mahatheri Bodhichitta, Venerable Mahatheri Liupa, and all Venerable Bhikkhuni Sangha, also to the Upasaka and Upasika. Later on, I am just a very young Samaneri in our nunnery, and there are a lot of sisters that much more better than me in many aspects. However, due to their restraint in English, therefore I am allowed and encouraged by my master Bhikkhuni Liupa. Then I'm able to have a chance, a great honor to present to all of you a short Dhamma talk about the enlightenment of the Buddha on the Vesak occasion. In fact, beside my honor, I'm very nervous too. So I would like to ask for your excuse and forgiveness if I make any mistake during the presentation. So the birth and enlightenment and passing of the Buddha all happened in the second month of the Buddhist calendar. Vesak Day has been known by different names in different countries, and it has been celebrated for the last 2,000 years by all Buddhists around the world to remind them of these three most sacred events in Buddha's life. Vesak is a great occasion for an international gathering to meet, celebrate, remember, and learn the life of the Buddha. Siddhartha Gautama, a young prince of the Sakya clan in India, had been raised in a life of a royal ease, shielded from the misery and cruelties of the world outside the palace gates. Distracted by the sensual pleasures and luxurious living, but one day the fateful encounter with the real world occurred, and Siddhartha was shaken to the core. There in his old kingdom, not far from his gardens and delights, he encountered people suffering from the sickness, old age, and death. He brooded over these things, deeply disturbed that such was the fate of all beings. Then he encountered an ascetic holy man, a renunciation dedicated to liberation. The prince then undertook the great renunciation, forsaking his family, fortune, and kingdom, and in pursuit of the path of liberation. The central, profound questions that burned in Gautama was this: how may suffering be ended? He became a wandering ascetic, practiced yogic disciplines and meditations, studied with various teachers, and attained high states of consciousness. But still, he did not find the answer to his questions. He practiced severe forms of ascetic, almost to the point of death by starvation or without gain. Finally, he sat under a Bodhi tree, determined not to rise from meditation until he had gained the insight of his thoughts. Not long after he attained enlightenment, he became the Buddha, the awakening one. After his enlightenment, the Buddha fasted for 7 weeks and spent a quiet time in deep contemplation under the Bodhi tree and in its neighborhood. And when the 7th week finished, from the foot of the Raja Yatana tree, the Buddha proceeded to the Ajapala tree, and he was absorbed in solitary meditation and following thoughts occurred to him. This Dhamma, which I have realized, is indeed profound, difficult to perceive, difficult to comprehend, tranquil, exalted, not within the sphere of logic, subtle, and is to be understood by the wise. These beings are attached to material pleasures. This casually connected dependent arising is a subject which is difficult to comprehend. And this nibbana, the cessation of the condition, the abandoning of all passions, the destruction of craving, the non-attachment, and the cessation is also a matter not easily comprehensible. If I too were to teach the Dhamma, the others would not understand me. That will be worrisome to me. That will be tiresome to me. Then this wonderful verse, unheard of before, occurred to the Buddha. With difficulty, I have comprehended the Dhamma. There is no need to proclaim it now. This Dhamma is not easily understood by those who are dominated by lust and hatred. The lust-ridden, thrown in darkness, do not see this Dhamma, which goes against the stream, which is abstruse, profound, difficult to perceive, and subtle. As the Buddha reflects thus, he was not disposed to expound the Dhamma. Thereupon, Brahma Sahampati dragged the thoughts of the Buddha, and fearing the word might perish through not hearing the Dhamma, approached him and invited him to teach the Dhamma. Brahma Sahampati had begged the Buddha twice, but was still refused. When he appealed to the Buddha for the 3rd time, the awakening one, out of pity for beings, surveyed the world with his Buddha vision. And he surveyed thus, he saw beings with little and much dust in their eyes, with keen and dull intellect, with good and bad characteristics, beings who are easy and beings who are difficult to be taught, and few others who with fear view evil and a life beyond. As in the case of a blue, red, and white lotus pond, some lotus are born in the water, grow in the water, remain immersed in the water, and dry long in the water. Some are born in the water, grow in the water, and remain on the surface of the water. Some others are born in the water, grow in the water, and remain emerging out of the water, unstained by the water. Even so, as the assaulted one surveyed the world with his Buddha vision, He saw beings with little and much dust in their eyes, with keen and dull intellect, with good and bad characteristics, beings who are easy and difficult to be taught, and few others who with fear view evil and a life beyond. And he addressed the Brahma Sahampati in the verse, thus, open to them are the doors to the deathless states. Let those who have ears repose confidence, for being aware of the weariness. O Brahma, I did not teach among men this glorious and excellent Dhamma. The delighted Brahma, thinking that he met himself the occasion for the exalted one to expound the Dhamma, respectfully saluted him and bowing crowned him to the right, disappeared immediately. Since that moment, during 45 years of the Buddha's life, he tirelessly preached the Dhamma to all the classes without any distinction. The Buddha's teachings on ethics and living a good life so also extend to the realm of the social and political. He was ahead of his time in many ways, considering all people as equal. He rejected the caste system and openly encouraged women to become students and teachers. He taught that governments had a responsibility to lead by example, to teach people ethics, and to eliminate poverty by providing opportunity for the people to become prosperous. He was clearly opposed to all forms of war and taught that violence can never create security. In keeping with these teachings, Buddhism is rare among world religions in that its followers never attempt to spread their beliefs through the use of force. Unique among victorious leaders, the Buddhist Emperor Asoka in the 3rd century BCE renounced violence and war and put Buddhist ethical virtues at the center of his government. The Buddha himself never asked anyone to accept unproven claims on faith, and in fact, he discouraged them from doing so. He maintained that his teachings could be verified by the direct insight and reasoning by anyone willing to consider them and to follow necessary paths of self-discipline. According to Dhammapada 194, happy is the birth of the Buddhas. Happy is the teaching of the Supreme Dhamma. Happy is the unity of the Sangha. Happy is the disciple of the United Ones. The Buddha was the most compassionate and tolerant of teachers. His will, wisdom, compassion, service, renunciation, perfect purity, exemplary personal life, the landless methods that were employed to propagate the Dhamma and his final success. All these factors have compelled about 1/5 of the population of the world to hail the Buddha as the greatest religious teachers that ever lived on the earth. Paying a glowing tribute to the Buddha, scribe Radhakrishnan writes, in Gautama the Buddha, we have a mastermind from the East, second to none so far as the influence on the thoughts and life of the human race is concerned. The start to all as the founder of a religious tradition, whose whole is hardly less wide and deep than any others. He belongs to the history of the world's thoughts, to the general inheritance of all cultivated men, for just by intellectual integrity, moral earnestness, and spiritual insight, he is undoubtedly one of the greatest figures in history. In the 3 greatest men in history, H.G. Wells states, in the Buddha, you clearly see a man, simple, devout, lonely, battling for light, a vivid human personality, not a myth. He too gave a message to mankind, universal in character. Many of our best modern ideas are in the closest harmony with it. All the miseries and discontents of life are due, he taught, to selfishness. Before a man can become serene, he must cease to live for his sense of himself. Then he must into a greater being. Buddhism in different language called man to self-forgetfulness 500 years before Christ. In some ways, he was nearer to us and to our needs. He was more lucid upon our individual importance in service than Christ, and less ambiguous upon the question of personal immortality. The poet Tagas called him the greatest man ever born. In admiration of the Buddha, Fastball, a Danish scholar, says, "The more I love him, the more I know him, the more I love him." The word of Buddha has spread all over Central and Eastern Asia with a tremendous impact on philosophical beliefs, cultures, and ethics of the countries where it was applied. Moreover, the Buddha himself never returned as a god, and he did not teach about a certain deity. He only wanted to make people follow him on his way to enlightenment and become enlightened by themselves. As the Buddha rightly quoted in the Dhammapada 75, indeed, the path that leads to the worldly gain is one, and the path that leads to Nibbana is another. Fully comprehending this, the Bhikkhu, the disciple of the Buddha, should not take delight in the worldly gain and honor, but devote himself to be solitude, detachment, and the realization of the Nibbana. So on this Vesak occasion, together we recall the greatest of the Buddha to remind ourselves how lucky we are to be able to follow the enlightened one's path, the unique path that help us break through the samsara. So thank you for your listening.
Thank you very much, Venerable Samaneri Manichita. Yeah, we are also inspired by your bravery, yeah, to also make this good presentation to share with us. And I think I like the phrase that you say, yeah, in the Buddha, you see a man. And this is a very important statement. And because a lot of people see the Buddha in a different way, yeah. So the awakening in a man, what all of us can try to do as a human. And with this, we see the path of the Buddhahood. And with that, we thank Samaneri Manichita again. And now I would like to invite Venerable Bhikkhuni Dhammananda Terry from Thailand to represent BSI and UTBSI to give vote of thanks. Venerable, please.
Yes, thank you so much, Venerable Sumangala. I would like to express my appreciation for Venerable Bodhichitta Dhamma in the beginning. You know, when he led the opening speech, it was very interesting that he pointed out that our host, the UTBSI, United Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha International, together with Mahabodhi Society of India. And she pointed out that Mahabodhi Society of India is oldest Buddhist association working with this very young UTBSI. I would like to remind you also that UTBSI is hardly 6 months old, but yet our Bhikkhunis have been showing great work in this past 6 months. Great appreciation goes to all our speakers today. In fact, we miss Venerable Sujato, but Venerable our Mahathera yesterday, Venerable Bodhi had really given such an amazing talk that I ever listened. So that covered, for these 2 days, our Bhikkhu brothers. I would like to thank both Venerable Bodhi and even Venerable Sujato, who is not here tonight, but we all of us know that he has been very supportive of the work of the Bhikkhunis. Our speakers, Venerable Venerable Santini from Indonesia. She urged all of us, to be very truthful in our practice. Venerable Sumangala has done very good job in summarizing already, so I will just simply thank the speakers. Venerable Santini, Venerable Bodhichitta, Venerable Paripurna, and Samaneri, the young Samaneri Manichita. I am really very happy to see that we allowed the space for young face to come up. Have I missed out anyone? I guess not. And of course, Venerable Ananda Jyoti, that he came in with the video to show us the story about the Buddha, in fact, biography of the Buddha in a very interesting manner. As UTBSI, I would like to say that most thankful to all of us, the audience, and Venerable Sumangala. I really appreciate the fact that you have been here every day as moderator. You have to be very mindful through all the papers. So this is with deep appreciation for Venerable Sumangala and for all our Bhikkhunis who worked behind the scene, for Venerable Santini's teamwork behind the scene, and everyone participating in this very interesting kind of virtual Dharma talk, virtual conference in a way. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you, Venerable Dhammananda Terry, for giving the vote of thanks to everyone. And again, we like to properly close this Day 2 Global Vesak Dhamma program with a closing salutation. And we invite Venerable Bhikkhuni Santini Mahateri again to make this closing salutation.
Before closing the second day of this Dhamma program, again, let us fill our mind with the Buddha's words. Now, let us join our palms in honor of the Buddha. Sabba pasa akaranang kusalasa upasam pada sacitta pariyodapanang etang bundhana sasanang khanti paramang tapo titikha Nibbanang paramang wadanti buddha nahi pambajito parupaghati samano hoti parang vihetayanto anupawado anupaghato patimokhe jasang waro mattan nyuta chabhantas aming pantanca sayana sanang Adhichitte Jayogo Etang Buddhana Sasanang Sabbe Sankhara Anincati Yada Panyaya Passati Athanibindati Dukhe Esamaggo Visuddhiya Sabbe Sankhara Dukkhati Yada Panyaya Passati Athanibindati Dukhe Esamaggo Visuddhiya Sabbe Dhamma Anattati Yada Panyaya Passati Athanibindati Dukhe Esamaggo Visuddhiya Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable Bhikkhuni Santini Mahateri, for the closing salutation. So we have come to the end of today's forum and this Dhamma program, as we learned from the first day, yesterday, the birth, and today, the enlightenment. And we hope to see you tomorrow for the Mahaparinibbana. So thank you very much again for your time spent together with us. I think a time well spent, and happy Vesak. See you tomorrow.